That's a good question. His original design actually was very dramatic and has never been built because my parents could not afford to build it. It was based on a concrete mushroom rising out of the woods, um, made by gunite, and then forming this much more opulent patio above. And that concrete mushroom, as he called it, would have cost as much as the entire house ended up costing. And my parents just said, we can't afford that. And unlike grandfather's reputation, he was very accommodating. He said, okay. And then he came back with a much simpler design, still curvilinear, still, in the same genre, but much, much more affordable and also less dramatic and beautiful. In the 50s, when my grandfather was relatively famous, no bank would finance that house and no contractor would take it except on a cost plus basis. And my parents knew that that would be a nightmare because nobody builds a house on a cost plus basis unless they're a multimillionaire. So the only solution really, and that's one of the ways that Wright got so many of his houses built, was that he would send an apprentice. And the apprentice would be paid peanuts, and he would, or she in some cases, would, play the role of the general contractor. Neither Lloyd nor grandfather ever saw the property before the house was finished, and Lloyd never saw it. Lloyd worked entirely from photographs. Grandfather worked from photographs of the site, but he did come visit the house after it was finished. And my parents were in fear and trembling because Wright would often come to a house and say, God, why did I do that? Let's tear out that wall. So they were maxed out as far as their own money went. And so they were dreading having to do any more revisions. But he went through with his cane. He only used his cane for hitting things. He never used it for walking. And he hit the walls and he hit this and he hit that. And he came out and he said, everything's Jake, which is Midwestern slang for everything's okay. And the house was shaped like a football with a balcony, a very dramatic balcony coming off the second floor of the woods. The lot was 2.5 acres of woods and quite steeply sloped. So so the second floor, from the back, the house looked kind of forbidding and fortress-like. But the back, of course, was the front entrance. But the front of the house had a patio with a retaining wall and this dramatic balcony, and that looked over the forest. And there was a stream down at the bottom of the hill too, which was very nice. So, but it was very small. It was 2,100 square feet, and every bit of it was, I thought, very efficiently used. The building was supervised by one of grandfather's apprentices who had never built a house before. His name was Bob Baharka, and he later became an architect in Los Baños, California, and just died a few years ago. But he did a wonderful job on my parents' house and did all sorts of ingenious things that weren't actually in the original plan. For instance, the heating system was forced warm air. And instead of metal ductwork, which grandfather had specified, Bob actually cut the concrete block into a vent. The vent was actually made out of the same concrete block that the walls were. what's great, like so many Frank Lloyd Wright houses, you don't, even though it's very small, you don't see the end. If you're at one end of the football, you can't see the other end because it goes around the corner. So it reads as bigger than it is. Kitchen. I know you're interested in kitchens and bathrooms, and the kitchen was one of the things that Wright did in many of his houses was integrate the kitchen with the rest of the living space. And in my parents' house case, it was this elliptical football shape in plan, but then with this circular mass rising all the way above the second floor because it contained the chimney, and on the first floor it contained the kitchen as well. And then on the second floor it contained the master bathroom, which was also circular. So the kitchen was completely circular, and you could stand in the middle of it and reach anything you wanted without having to move, really. It was so small, but also so friendly, user friendly in that sense. And it had two entrances. It exited at one end directly to the dining room table, so that serving meals was very easy. And in the other end, it exited to the living room, so which was the social space. So even if you were stuck in the kitchen, you were very much still part of the flow of the evening if it was a social evening. And that was nice. Because the kitchen is very small, but Bob designed this T-shaped table that pulled out. It took up no space. It was just like a T in the wall of the kitchen, but you pulled it out and then the top flipped down, and it made a nice breakfast nook for two, and it's really ingenious. And that's entirely Bob Baharka, not Frank Lloyd Wright. So Bob really was, like many apprentices, you among them, he was really into Wright's work and really wanted to do a beautiful job, and he did. The house was really well set up for entertaining because the living room was the whole first floor, the kitchen aside. And the kitchen was ideally set up to serve, to put things on the dining room table for people to take. So they gave a lot of parties. In the master bathroom, the shower and tub were separate from the toilet, so that there was a door between. Again, it was this circular shape, and in the first part of the circle, when you entered the bathroom, was the sink and the toilet, and then you opened the door into the bathtub and shower. The shower was part of the bathtub; it was above the bathtub. So that was nice because someone could be taking a shower and someone else could use the bathroom without getting in each other's way. And in addition, the main bathroom that is above the toilet and sink had a skylight, a rather large, dramatic skylight, which of course leaked. And you can talk to my brother about that. I think he spent a lot of money trying to fix the leaks in the bathroom and all that. But it created nice light, and it actually had a light inside the skylight, which was like a globe. So I thought the master bathroom was fairly comfortable as Wright bathrooms go. But I agree with you that Wright, did tend to privilege design over comfort. And then the parents actually had off the master bedroom, there was a bathroom, just a toilet and a sink. And that was very nice too, because then they could have privacy. Dear Betty, Bob, et al was me and my brother and sister. How's this, Dad? And I don't know. I never could find any correspondence from my parents about that house. We just knew that they never acquired the land and therefore never could build it.